Hello sparrows. I brought you down to the beautiful Grand River where I am so fortunate to live and where I am so fortunate to know where to come where there are no other people. And now I'm fortunate to be able to share it with you because we're reading stories together, so why not read stories wherever I can and share the beauty with you, with Django thinking that he's fishing, but really he's not fishing, in the background. This time of day is early evening, so the sun is just coming down in the west here, and it's creating these beautiful sparkles on the water behind me. And oh, the smell is divine. There are thyme banks further along the path. There's wild garlic growing rampant along this bank, which is an invasive plant. It's very beautiful, but it is taking over this entire bank. It smells lush, however. And there's absolutely nobody here. How can that be? Such paradise. I can hold the sun in my hands. Oops, like that. There we are. Hello, sun. Welcome, sun. After a long, hard winter, welcome. And here we are gathered to continue reading The Enchanted Wood, where Joe, Beth, and Franny are going to discover the woods for the very first time. So are you sitting comfortably? I have Babushka, our little tea cozy friend, and Wild Ginger, her lovely cat. She's going to sit down here and just gaze upon the splendor in front of her. Are you in your comfy spot? Let's blow hugs and love with that beautiful sun wherever it needs to go in the world. Whee, on a bird song. Chapter 2. The first visit to the wood. The three children had no chance to visit the enchanted wood until the next week, for they had been busy all week helping their mother and father with chores around their new house. They had to tidy the garden and the clothes and the kitchen and a lot of cleaning, and they wanted to wait until they could all go together. They were so excited. So Mother said, "You can have your lunch outside today. You've worked very hard, all of you, and you deserve a picnic. I will cut some sandwiches and you can take along some nice fresh milk." "We'll go to the wood," whispered Beth to the others. And with excited faces and beating hearts, they helped their mother pack a picnic into a big picnic basket. They set off. There was a small gate at the bottom of their back garden that led into the overgrown lane running by the wood. They unlatched the gate and stood in the lane. They could see the trees in the wood and hear them talking in their strange tree talk. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. "I feel as if there are adventures about," said Joe. "Come on, over the ditch we go and into the enchanted wood." One by one, the children jumped over the narrow ditch. They stood beneath the trees and peered about. Small freckles of sunshine lay here and there on the ground, but not very many, for the trees were so thick. It was dim and green, and a small bird nearby sang an odd little song over and over again. "It really is magic," said Franny suddenly. "I can feel magic about somewhere. Can't you, Beth and Joe?" "Yes," the others said, and their eyes shone with excitement. "Come on." They went down a little green path that looked as if it had been made just for rabbits. It was so small and narrow. Don't let's go too far," said Joe. We'd better wait till we know the paths a bit better before we go deep into the wood. How about we look for a place to sit down and have our sandwiches now?" Beth cried, "Oh, I can see some wild strawberries!" And she knelt down and pressed back some pretty leaves and showed the others where the deep red strawberries grew beneath. "Oh, let's pick some and have them with our picnic too," said Franny. They picked wild strawberries and soon had enough to make a fine meal. "Let's sit down under that old oak tree over there," said Joe. "It has lots of soft moss growing beneath. It will be like sitting on a green velvet cushion." So they sat down and unpacked their sandwiches, and soon they were munching away happily, listening to the dark green leaves whoosh, 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 whoosh overhead. And it was whilst they were in the middle of their picnic that they saw a very peculiar thing. Franny noticed it first. Not far off was a clear piece of soft grass. And as Franny looked at it, she noticed bumps appearing on it. She stared in surprise, and the bumps grew. The earth rose up and broke in 6 places. "Look," said Franny. "What's happening over there?" All 3 of them watched in silence, and then they saw what it was. 6 big toadstools were growing up quickly from the ground, Django. 6 toadstools, up, 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 pushing their way up through the ground as the children watched. "I've never seen that before," said Beth. "Neither have I," said Franny and Joe. "Shh, don't make a noise. I can hear footsteps," said Franny. The others listened, and sure enough, they heard the sound of pattering feet and little high voices. "Let's get behind a bush quickly," said Beth. "Whoever it is coming this way, and they might be frightened if they see us. There's magic happening here. I can feel it. I can see it," said Franny. They scrambled up and crept quietly behind a bush, taking their basket with them. They hid just in time, for even as Beth settled down and parted the leaves, there came a troop of small men with long beards, almost reaching the ground. "Elves," said Joe. The elves went to the toadstools and sat down on them. They were holding an elf meeting. One of them had a bag with him, which he put down behind his toadstool. The children could not hear what was being said, but they heard the sound of the chattering voices and caught one or two words. Suddenly, Joe nudged Beth and Franny. He had seen something else. The girls saw it too. A big, gnarly, gnome-like fellow was creeping up silently behind the meeting on the toadstools, and none of the elves saw him or heard him. "He's after that bag behind the toadstool," whispered Joe, and so he was. He reached out a long arm. His bony fingers closed on the bag, and he began to draw it away under the bush. Joe jumped up. He was not going to watch people being robbed without saying something. He shouted loudly, "Stop, thief! Hey, look out, elves! There's a gnome behind you stealing your bag." In fright, the elves all leapt up. The gnome jumped to his feet and sped off with the bag. The elves stared after him in dismay, not one of them following. The gnome robber ran towards where the children were hiding. He didn't know they were there, and as quick as lightning, Joe put out his foot and tripped up the running robber gnome. Boom! Down he went, crash! The bag flew from his hand, and Beth picked it up and threw it quickly, to the astonished elves, who were still standing by the toadstools. Joe tried to grab the robber gnome around the waist, but he was off and up and fled as fast as a bird. The children tore after him. Wait up, robber gnome!" In between the trees they went, dodging here and there and here and there, chasing the robber gnome, who was as fast and sprightly as a fast spring rabbit. And at last they saw the gnome leap up to the low branches of a great tree and pull himself up into the leaves. The children sat down at the bottom, out of breath, of the tree. "We've got you now, robber gnome. You can't go around stealing the bag of elves having a meeting in a forest like that, you know." "Here come the elves," said Beth, wiping her hot forehead, and the little men ran up and bowed.
"You are very good to us," said the biggest one. "Thank you for saving our bag. We have very valuable elf papers in there, you know."
"Well, we've got the gnome for you," said Joe. "He's up in this tree. He went up there, and if you surround the tree and wait, you will be able to catch him as he comes down." But the elves would not go anywhere near the tree. They looked half frightened of the tree.
He will not come down until he wants to," said the biggest elf. "And, that is the oldest and most magic tree in the entire world. It is the Faraway Tree."
"The Faraway Tree?" the children exclaimed. "What an odd name! Why do you call it the Faraway Tree?"
"Well," said the wise elf. "It's a very strange tree. Its top reaches the faraway places in a way we do not understand. Sometimes its top branches may be in witchland, sometimes in strange countries, and sometimes in peculiar places that no one has ever heard of. We never climb it because we never know what might be at the top." "How very strange," said the children. The gnome has got into whatever place there is at the top of the tree today," said the biggest elf. "He may live there for months and months. He may never come down again. It's no good waiting for him, and it's certainly no good going after him. His name is Creepy because he is forever creeping about quietly." The children looked up into the broad leafy boughs of the tree, and they felt tremendously excited. The Faraway Tree in the enchanted wood! What magic there seemed to be in the very names. "Oh, if only we could climb up," said Joe. "Oh, you must never do that," said the elves. All the elves, in fact, said, "Oh, oh, 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 you must never do that. It's very dangerous. Anyway, we must go now, but we thank you for your help. If ever you want us to help you, just come into the enchanted wood and whistle 7 times under the oak tree, not far from our toadstools." "Thank you," said the children, and stared after the 6 small elves as they ran off between the trees. Joe thought it was time to go home, so they followed the little elves down the narrow path only wide enough for rabbits and apparently elves and children, until they came to the part of the wood that they knew. They picked up their basket and went home, all of them thinking the same thought. You know, the think that they were thinking, the thought that they were thoughting, the idea they were ideating, if that's a word. It's not a word. They all thought, same as you and me, we must go up the Faraway Tree and see what is at the top. Ha! The beautiful end of chapter 2. I can't wait to find out what's at the top of the Faraway Tree. Can you? Oh. And I wonder where I can't even speak now. I'm so thrilled about knowing we're going to the top of the Faraway Tree. I'm wondering where we might read the story next. So thank you for enjoying. Look at this beautiful view. Thank you for enjoying this time. Oh, it's so beautiful down here. Thank you for flying in with the river and the bird song and the beautiful setting sun setting in the west. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Sweet dreams of magic and enchanted trees. Let's hug the sun. Hug, hug, hug. Hug, hug, hug. Hugs for you. Whoosh!